But what about the coming year? How are we going to stay successful or efficient or maybe just happy in these new circumstances? I will simply ask a professor in psychology, Christina Bode. Hello, Christina.
Hello, Lieve.
So you are a health psychologist?
Yes.
But often you are just called Professor of Happiness. Now we have had some strange months and the coming academic year will be quite different than what we are used to. This can be difficult for some people. Then their stress levels can be higher, they can have the feeling that they're not as efficient anymore. What would your advice be for them?
That's a very good question because we do not have experiences about this until now, right? So I think the first thing that we saw in the past months was that people deal totally different with this new situation, right? So some people are flourishing in a way because they laugh, they are open to new experiences and they try out all the things. And for some people it is more difficult because perhaps flexibility is not their most important strength and they like their day structure and they like to have their structure to perform perfectly. And so I think the first thing what we see is, okay, how flexible are people to adapt to these critical circumstances?
Now let's imagine that I'm one of those who are more stressed by the situation, can't really cope with it that well. How can I do better? What would your advice be?
Do you know this idea of an oxygen mask in a plane? The purser gives you some instruction, right? And what he says is, if this oxygen mask comes, you have to put it on your mouth and nose before you help others. And I think this is a very, very good thinking picture for this. Because how can you care for yourself? How can you really make that you feel comfortable and perhaps then your stress level will be lower and you can also deal with these stressful situations better? For me, as a health psychologist, we have one answer, and this is in two parts. So how can you care for your physical health, and how can you care for your mental health? Can I ask you a question? Do you know how you can care for yourself the best?
Exercise and sports. I would say have enough rest and maybe avoid long periods of stress.
That's very, very important. And perhaps you can also think about your exercise. Do you do it in the evening?
It's mostly during the day around the house.
Okay, because I think many people are working at the University of Twente, sit along the whole day, and then they sport in the evening.
Yeah.
And what we know from research, from recent research, is that unfortunately, sporting in the evening is good, but it does not compensate for sitting 8 to 10 hours. So my first tip would be please try to also move a bit during the day. Do not sit and sit and sit, but change your posture. And this research says. But if I go further and ask you, how do you care for your mental health then? What do you think?
Avoid stress again, and probably find things you enjoy and do them often.
Mm-hmm. That's very important. So what we know also is how passionate you are about something, how better your mental health is. So if we translate this to the work situation, would be the question, what makes you passionate about your work, right? And sometimes in times of stress, we really forget this. We forget it. And then it's good to think again and rethink, what was it? What makes me so passionate? Why do I work here? And why it is nice to work and do my work? And then your mental health directly improves.
So take care from now on means take care of your mental and physical health.
Yeah, and think about the oxygen mask, because it's not egocentric. It is really what you have to do, because your colleagues will profit, yourself, your research, your teaching, your colleagues will profit if you are fit and vital.
So from now on, take care means take care of your mental and physical health.
Yeah, invest in yourself.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Christina.